Straw loom weaving. This is what your project may look like when it is finished. These are the basic supplies you need: yarn and straws.
Okay, so what you want to do again is you take your yarn, and you thread it through the straw all the way through to the other side, and then you want to line them all up like that. Once you have threaded all of your straws, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take the ends, you're going to line them up, wrap them around your fingers, and go through the space in between your two fingers, making a knot. Once you've made that knot, you're going to lay your straws out, bringing them all the way up as high as you can, but laying them down on your paper. Now you are ready to choose your yarn for weaving. What color do you want the outside to be? So you're going to get yarn. You're going to take it and tie it to the very outside straw. And I would tie it in a double knot personally because I don't want my yarn to come out. So I go around and in the loop, pull, around and in the loop, pull. And now I am ready to start weaving. The yarn that goes through the straws is called the warp. The yarn that goes around the weaving is called the weft. And the weft is this yarn that we're going to see. So when you look at my finished project, the warp are these purple ones that we really don't see in the weaving body. And these are the colors that I chose to weave under, over, over, under. And that is the weft. And how we remember that is the weft yarn goes left and right, back and forth. So I've chose gray, and I'm going to go under, over, gently pull it up. And now I'm going to go under, over, and you're going to continue doing this for a bunch of rows. Please be careful when you pull it. You don't want to pull it so tight that you bundle up all of your straws, and you're just going to keep weaving under, over, under. I'm going to go until I run out of gray, but maybe you want to control it more and only do a certain amount of the color that you have. When you are done with a color, you just tie the new end to the old end, and I will show you that in just a few minutes. I'm just getting a couple rows down. Once you've gotten a couple rows in, it starts to pull together and not be so wiggly. All right, so I've got these rows. I'm going to slide them up, but not slide it so high up that they go off of my loom. I'm just pulling them up my straws. And I'm going to go back and forth, under, over, under, and weave. Now, if you're weaving and you find that your rows keep coming out, all right, this is the problem. If I don't do the opposite, go under and then over this one, and then under this one and over this one, they're not going to lock in for weaving, and it's going to fall out. My rows are going to fall out. They must be opposite, or I'm just backing through the same pattern that I did before. So again, you want to go under, over, under, over, under, over. Now, let's say I put my project away and I came back to it. It's been a while. I don't remember what pattern I was doing. Was I over or was I under? Well, take a look at your last row. This straw, I went over it last time. See, my yarn is over it. So that means that my next row must be under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over. Pull it through. And you're going to continue this way until you get to the end of the straws. And then I'll show you how to finish it off. Here are a couple of tips that I came across while I was working on my weaving. Number one, my knot is down here. On this end, I cut little slits in the straw, and then I slid my yarn warp strings into those slits. That stopped this from falling out and sliding out, which is real important. The other thing, as I started weaving, it was easier to pick it up in my hand. Now, I'm a right-handed person, so I hold it with my left hand. My left hand is not as smart as my right hand, and so I hold it in my left hand, and then I can easily weave over, under, over each of the straws while I'm working. And because I have put slits in the top, each one of these strings inside the straws are staying in place. I just slide them on the slit so they don't go anywhere. Remember, when it's time to pull it off, we're pulling it down toward our knot. This is the part where the straws will slide off. I hope that helps. Okay, so when you are done, you're going to push down your weaving on your straws toward your knot. You're going to pull the ends of all of your warp strings up out of your weaving. Because see, they're like stuck in the weaving. So I'm pulling them out of the weaving. And then I am going to remove the straws one at a time. You can keep them if you want to use them for something at home, but for school, we do not need them anymore. So you take them out. You are going to take your very last, the end of your weaving, and you're going to tie it to your last warp string so that your weaving will not unravel. Double knot, okay?
Shoelace knot.
Yep. And now you're going to decide what you want to do with it. So on mine, I used this part as the head, and then this part became the legs. So if you want it to be the legs, you have 3 and 3. You could take these and you could braid them. You could just tie them in knots, and you decide how you want to finish this part off. And then if you want to make arms, you actually, where you want the arms, you just move the yarn and you tie on the braided pieces to the last warp strings on both of them. And then you can add any extras that you want to make it into whatever you want. All right, it could also become an armband, so you could leave it like this, and then you could put a knot in it, or we could put a button on it, and you could wear it if you thought this was something you wanted to wear. It's up to you how you want to make and finish it. There are lots of different ways that you can add extras to your finished project. One of the ways is to use yarn on a needle, and you can actually sew details like a face by just sewing into your project with a needle, a big fat needle, and some yarn. And you could make a nose if you wanted by sewing on the front of your project. It's kind of like drawing with yarn. And we could draw it right on there. And then on the back side, once you've got what you want, you can just loop it, and then you just take your 2 pieces of yarn. This is the beginning of the yarn, and this is the one that was tied to the needle. And I just knot them and then trim them off. That's just one way you can add details to your little dude or your design. You could, as a bracelet, what if you wrote your name by writing it in with yarn? Good luck.